Welcome, weary soul. I am your guide into the quiet shadows of tonight, here to lead you toward a deep, untroubled slumber. Before we begin this journey, know that your presence is valued and any thoughts on tales you wish to hear are always welcome. I hope this story finds you well. My own story began in the late 1980s, nestled in a forgotten corner of rural Pennsylvania. It was a place where every face was familiar, where your family name and your father's trade were common knowledge, and the car you'd eventually drive was already whispered about long before you could even hold a steering wheel. Our town was barely a flicker on the map. A lone diner, a dusty hardware store, a tiny police station with a single, often drowsy officer patrolling the dark, and a handful of homes swallowed by dense woods. Those trees always carried the scent of wet pine mixed with the sharp tang of gasoline from the old sawmill. I was never the center of attention, just an ordinary kid, unremarkable in every way. My world mostly revolved around Troy Halpern, who lived a mere 2 houses down. Troy was a live wire, buzzing with an energy that seemed to set adults on edge. He wasn't truly malicious, not at his core, but he possessed a relentless hunger for risk, a burning need to prove himself stronger, bolder, louder than anyone else. Even as young as 8, he was already the type to leap from rooftops just to test the limits of pain, or to challenge someone to lick a frozen metal pole in the dead of winter for a measly $5. Then there was Leo Barrick, a whisper of a boy, small, reedy, plagued by asthma, perpetually clad in clothes that had seen better days on someone else. He was the child teachers overlooked, the one whose hand went unseen. He wasn't a close friend, not like Troy, but he was a constant shadow, trailing behind us, mostly because he had nowhere else to be. Troy would often grumble and act annoyed by Leo's presence, yet he always allowed him to remain. Perhaps it was the way Leo's vulnerability made Troy feel grander, more dominant, utterly in command. My parents were always working, swallowed by endless shifts, mom at the clinic, dad on the long hauls out of Harrisburg. Weekends, especially those endless summer weekends, were mine alone. A vast, open space of freedom, a canvas where trouble was always eager to paint its next masterpiece. And that trouble, more often than not, arrived wearing Troy's grinning face. This particular Saturday in late July was a suffocating beast, the kind of heat that made the asphalt melt and cling to your sneakers. Troy burst onto my porch around noon, dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. "Yo," he gasped, as if he'd sprinted across the entire town. "You have asterisk to see what I found." I pressed him for details, but he just gave me that knowing smirk. "Dude, just trust me." Come on, when a 10-year-old utters the words "trust me," it's usually a blaring alarm to do the exact opposite. But predictably, I fell in line behind him. Halfway down the sun-baked street, we met Leo. He clutched a warm can of Coke, his face already etched with the weary resignation of someone enduring a long, miserable day. "What did you find, Troy?" Leo's voice was a nervous squeak. "You'll see," Troy replied, a cryptic promise. He veered us off the cracked pavement, through a tangled break in the trees, and into the dense woods that stretched behind the old sawmill trail. This was our usual haunt, the site of our perpetually unfinished fort, cobbled together from decaying planks and pilfered nails. But today, an unsettling stillness hung in the air. Troy carried a backpack, and his usual boisterous energy was replaced by an unnerving quiet. "Troy," I ventured as we stepped into our familiar clearing. "What's happening?" He slid the backpack from his shoulders, dropping into a crouch, and slowly, deliberately unzipped it as if unveiling a dark secret. His eyes met ours, alight with that familiar, dangerous grin he wore just before committing an act of utter foolishness. "You guys ready?" he challenged. No one dared to answer, so he simply proceeded. From the depths of the bag, he withdrew a pistol, a stark, black, weighty object with scarred edges and a cold metal grip. My gut lurched. Leo let out a high-pitched, strangled gasp, nearly dropping his soda. "What in God's name, Troy?" I demanded, my voice sharp with sudden dread. "Where did you get that?" "Relax," he drawled, his tone unsettlingly casual as he balanced the weapon in his palm as if it were a common toy. "It's just my uncle's old gun." He keeps it in a box under his bed. I've seen it a million times. You asterisk stole asterisk it. I stammered, my voice cracking with disbelief. Troy merely shrugged. I borrowed it, dude. I clutched at my hair, a wave of panic washing over me. You can't just asterisk borrow asterisk a gun. Leo stumbled backward until his spine hit a tree trunk. Troy, bro, that's asterisk real asterisk gun, he whispered, his voice barely audible, like asterisk really asterisk real. No kidding, genius, Troy scoffed. And I've got something else. His hand vanished back into the bag. Troy, I pleaded. A desperate warning. But he ignored me, pulling out another item, a small, heavy metal cylinder, rusted and round, formidable in its silent presence. What is that? I breathed, my voice barely a whisper. Leo, wide-eyed and terrified, answered before Troy could. That's a grenade, he gasped, his voice thin with terror. Holy crap, Troy, put it down. Troy's lips curled into a chilling smirk. An old pineapple grenade, probably from Vietnam or something. My blood ran cold, the worst part screamed at me, the pin was gone. No, I breathed, a whisper of pure disbelief. Leo's eyes widened, then he erupted, a strangled cry of terror. Dude, that's asterisk live asterisk. That thing's going to asterisk kill asterisk us. Troy, what are you doing? Troy cradled it, his thumb idly stroking the safety lever. It only explodes if I release it, he murmured, his voice unnervingly flat, almost bored. I won't let go, we're safe. Troy, stop it, I snapped, the words tearing from me. This isn't a game, but he just kept talking, his gaze distant, his tone chillingly calm. You know what my uncle always says, heroes die young, maybe we could go out legendary, everyone would remember us. What in God's name are you talking about? I yelled, my stomach churning. This isn't some war movie, Troy. We're going to die in the most idiotic way imaginable. Leo was a trembling leaf, gasping for air. Please, Troy, he whimpered, tears welling. I don't want to die, man. I have a dog. I just got a new bike. But Troy's grin only widened, a cruel mask. You guys freak out too much, he scoffed. Gotta toughen up. Then he took a step towards us. Instinct took over. Before I could even think, I lunged, snatched the cold metal from his grasp, and flung it into the deepest part of the woods with all my might. We all dove for cover, hitting the dirt. Then Troy exploded with laughter. Man, you should have seen your faces. He howled, wiping tears from his eyes. It's just a dummy, there's no powder inside. My heart hammered against my ribs, but slowly, a shaky laugh of pure relief escaped me. Leo wasn't laughing, but the terror had drained from his face. Dude, I gasped, hands on my knees, you're such an asterisk asshole asterisk. He just grinned, triumphant. Best prank ever. He had no idea. None of us did. We were still chuckling, the tension bleeding away, when I playfully shoved Troy's shoulder. Just a light, you idiot kind of push. He stumbled backward. Then a heavy asterisk clunk asterisk against a rock. The sound was deafening. A sharp metallic asterisk pop asterisk ripped through the trees, echoing like a crack of thunder. My ears shrieked. Troy's face went utterly, terrifyingly white. Leo crumpled to the ground as if his puppet strings had been severed. For a frozen second, my brain refused to compute. Then my gaze fixed on Leo's forehead, a small, sickening smear of crimson just above his eyebrow. The world tilted. A primal scream tore from my throat as I dropped to my knees beside him. Buddy, dude, talk to me. Troy stood rigid, trembling violently. Oh, asterisk shit asterisk, did it fire? It wasn't loaded. It wasn't asterisk supposed asterisk to be loaded. Call someone, I shrieked, my voice raw. We don't have phones, Troy screamed back, pure panic in his tone. I ripped off my shirt, pressing it hard against Leo's bleeding head. He let out a low, pained groan. A real one, I whispered, utterly aghast. Oh my God, you're alive. His voice was thin, shaky. It burns, dude, what happened? You just got grazed, I choked out, fighting for breath. The bullet must have just hit the bone, you're not dead. You're good, stay awake. Troy collapsed, a heap of shaking terror. I didn't mean it. he sobbed, repeating it like a broken record. I didn't mean it. Oh gods, they are going to kill me. My mom's going to. It wasn't my fault. It was your fault. I roared, snapping. You brought a damn gun into the woods. We needed help and we needed it now. We half-dragged, half-carried Leo to the main road, frantically waving down the first passing pickup. The driver, a kind-faced man, practically had a heart attack at the sight of Leo's bloodied head. Within minutes, Leo was at the tiny local clinic. Within an hour, every single police officer in our small town was swarming the place. And Troy, I'd never witnessed such raw, violent grief. He was utterly hysterical, shaking so hard I thought he might just pass out. His mother looked like the afternoon had aged her a decade. The pistol was Troy's uncle's, who swore it had been unloaded for years, a broken relic. But somehow, a single, jammed bullet had been lodged in the chamber. When it struck that rock, bang, the only true miracle was the angle of impact. An inch lower and Leo would have been lost to us forever. The police issued Troy's family a stern warning. But given the laws of that time and the accidental nature of it all, and the fact that Leo had survived, no charges were filed. Troy was forbidden from seeing us for months. His parents made a bonfire of his toy soldiers and model guns. He was grounded for the entire summer and they forced him into counseling. By middle school, Leo was a legend. The kid who got shot and lived . Other kids begged to see the scar. Girls seemed to find him more intriguing. Teachers treated him like fragile glass and he absolutely embraced it. He joked about it constantly. Hey, at least Troy didn't shoot me in the butt. Or, technically, I'm bulletproof where it matters most. We remained friends, good friends. Troy, however, was utterly transformed. No more crazy stunts, no more dangerous games. He became quiet, almost unnervingly cautious. We never spoke of that day, not a single word. But every time Troy's gaze landed on Leo's scar, I saw it, a ghost of guilt etched onto his face, the kind of crushing weight that shadows a person for a lifetime. Years blurred into one another. Troy eventually moved to Ohio, becoming a steady, responsible mechanic. He's a good man now, humble, and still, like clockwork, he apologizes to Leo every single time they meet. Leo, for his part, became a paramedic. He claims that surviving a gunshot wound ignited a fierce desire to save others. Sometimes, when we're older and sharing a drink, I'll tell the story, a mix of dark humor and lingering emotion. Remember when our reckless friend put a bullet in your head? We can laugh about it now because we're still here, still breathing. Yet, late at night, the memory still haunts me. I think about how fragile a life truly is, how easily it can shatter. 1 second, one careless slip, one stupid prank, and everything can end. I see the gun resting on the rock, hear the sharp echo in the trees, watch Leo crumple. And then there's Troy's smile, the one he wore just before chaos erupted, the grin of a kid who thought he was invincible, utterly unaware of how terrifyingly close he came to becoming a killer. People often say horror is about monsters, but they are wrong. Sometimes horror is simply a friend who doesn't understand the depth of his own danger. My own childhood unfolded in Briarwood Springs, a small town nestled deep within the forgotten corners of Oregon, hugged tight by ancient trees. My mother always called it peaceful. I always found it agonizingly boring, but now, looking back, only one word truly fits: dangerous. Because in that quiet little town, I met the worst friend I have ever known. His name was Trent Hollister. Even now, the mere whisper of that name sends a cold pressure through my chest, not fear, but the body's primal memory of something it fought for years to bury. I was only 5 when I first encountered Trent. Our mothers were church friends, their voices a cheerful chorus after Sunday service, chatting about casseroles and potlucks, their lives seemingly plucked from a sun-drenched movie. Meanwhile, I was trapped on the church basement rug with Trent, who, from the very first moment, decided he owned me. He didn't ask if we could be friends, he declared it. I remember him looming over me as I played with a battered toy fire truck, his bony finger tapping my forehead twice. "You're with me," he stated. Okay, it wasn't a question. Even at 5, I understood the command in his tone. I mumbled, "Okay," because what else was there to say? He had this unnervingly hard, glassy stare like a child who had witnessed too much. Something was profoundly wrong with him. Kids aren't supposed to look at other kids like prey, and from that day forward, I wasn't Trent's friend. I was his possession. Trent possessed a cunning that charmed adults while unnerving every child around him. If a cupcake fell at a birthday party, Trent's face would remain innocent while his foot subtly ground the frosting deeper into the carpet. If crayons went missing, he'd have them stashed in his backpack pocket, complete with an airtight alibi. He instinctively knew how to angle his body, how to block an adult's line of sight, how to weaponize the silence between words. He mastered the art of inflicting pain without leaving a single mark. At first, it was a sharp, hidden pinch deep inside my upper arm during story time, the tender flesh that bruised quickly but was rarely seen. Or he'd press his elbow into my thigh beneath the table, whispering without moving his lips, "Don't look at anyone else, you look at me." Teachers would notice me flinch or wince, labeling me sensitive, jumpy, overly emotional. Other kids started calling me Crybaby Carter. Yes, Carter was my name. Sometimes Trent wouldn't even speak. He'd just pull a rubber band from his pocket and flick it against the back of my neck when no one was watching. Little stinging snaps of pain that instantly brought tears to my eyes. And those tears, God, those tears were his ultimate prize. Once during recess, he pinned my wrists behind my back and hissed, "Ever been choked with your own shirt?" before wrenching my collar so violently tight around my windpipe that my vision swam, my feet scrabbled uselessly against the ground. He took a step back, dusting his hands with a theatrical flourish. "You threw up too easily, man," he sneered, as if my reaction were a personal failing. No one ever witnessed his cruelty. He molded me into silence, conditioned me to stiffen at his touch, forced me to wear a cheerful mask for adults so they'd perceive only normalcy. Most devastatingly, he twisted my mind into believing he was my sole companion. Because he deliberately cut me off from everyone else, tripping me if I approached other children, hissing threats if I dared share a laugh, I genuinely believed this twisted arrangement was friendship, that this was simply how it functioned. Childhood in its ignorance can be so utterly blind, you rarely grasp the true wrongness of things until years have passed. I dreaded visits to Trent's house. An unnatural chill permeated its very walls. His family possessed the kind of wealth that made their home appear plucked from a glossy magazine, yet it resonated with a stark, sterile coldness, far more unsettling than any hospital lobby. His father, his stepfather actually was one of those blustering, ruddy-faced men in polo shirts who bellowed "champ" far too loudly, his pickup truck adorned with a proud flag sticker in the rear window. His mother, outwardly sweet, carried a perpetual, frayed anxiety in her gaze, the kind of woman who would instinctively apologize even if someone else had stumbled onto her foot. Trent's bedroom was his meticulously organized domain, toys arranged with military precision on shelves I was strictly forbidden to touch. A massive bunk bed commanded an entire wall. He claimed the bottom, leaving the top for me. "You're older," he'd declare, "big kids sleep up top." The cruel truth was, he feared heights and I feared him. So I'd ascend the creaking ladder, acutely aware of his hand gripping the base, a silent threat as if he were perpetually tempted to tear it away. At night, I'd lie rigid, my gaze fixed on the faint shimmer of glow-in-the-dark stars plastered to his ceiling, desperately pleading with the universe for him to simply drift into sleep and spare me his twisted games. But with chilling predictability, he never did. He would rouse me with a sharp poke through the mattress springs or a venomous, hissed whisper, "Get down here." Any delay, any flicker of hesitation on my part would unleash a torrent of threats. "I'll tell your mom you swore," or "I'll smash your Game Boy," or most chillingly, a simple, blunt, "I'll hurt you." In the cloak of darkness, he shed all pretense, revealing his true, sinister self. I was 9, Trent was 9. It was late May, the air thick and clinging to the skin with a humid warmth. My parents were away for a family gathering I hadn't been included in. My mother, with that profound, blissful ignorance only adults seemed capable of, pressed a kiss to my cheek and chirped, "You'll have so much fun with Trent." I offered no protest. I had abandoned arguments years ago. I arrived at Trent's house, a small backpack holding my pajamas and my cherished t-shirt adorned with a faded alien. By 9 o'clock, we were settled in our bunks, Trent below, me above. Sometime past midnight, I jolted awake to the brutal grip of his hand clamped around my wrist. "Wake up," he commanded, shaking me with an unnecessary, bone-jarring force. "Dude, wake up." My bewildered "what?" was cut short as he flung water into my face, lukewarm, faintly tainted with the scent of toothpaste. Not enough to drown me, but perfectly calculated to deliver a shocking jolt. "We're going out," my mind screamed. We're not allowed. But before I could voice it, his fingers dug into the tender flesh beneath my arm, a pinch so swift and agonizingly sharp that I gasped. "Don't talk back," he snarled. I scrambled into my clothes, pajama bottoms still on, but my sneakers laced tight. Trent, however, was already clad in jeans and a hoodie, as if this nocturnal escapade had been meticulously orchestrated. We crept past his parents' bedroom, his stepfather's snores rattling the very foundations of the hallway. Outside, the night air pressed down, heavy and unnaturally silent, as if any sound would be a trespass. The park, 4 blocks distant, was a void broken only by a single, sickly orange lamp, sputtering like a dying ember. It was, predictably, deserted. At its heart, the jungle gym loomed, a skeletal metal structure clawing at the dark sky, one of those monstrous creations from the 90s, before safety rules tamed playground heights. Trent gestured towards it. "Because I said so, Carter. God, why do you always have to question everything? Just climb." I knew the brutal calculus. Defiance meant agony. Obedience offered the faint hope of less agony. So I began to ascend. The metal bars were frigid, slick with dew. My fingers locked around them and I fought the urge to glance down. It wasn't the height that terrified me, it was the malevolent presence waiting below. Reaching the summit, I settled cautiously, my grip tight on the rail. "Okay," I breathed, barely a whisper. "Do a handstand." My voice hitched. "I can't do it. I can't, Trent." He merely shrugged. "Suit yourself." I saw a subtle shift in his posture, but the dim light swallowed the details of his hands, leaving me no time to ask what sinister act he was preparing. A sudden, brutal impact ripped through the side of my head. White light exploded behind my eyes, and a deafening roar like a bomb detonating shattered the air around me. My body recoiled, a raw instinct. Perched precariously on that narrow bar, a flinch was a fall. I plunged 12 feet. The impact with the unforgiving ground was so violent, the very earth seemed to split beneath me. Inside, I heard a sickening crunch like dry wood snapping under a heavy boot. The air was violently forced from my lungs. My vision blurred, the world a smeared mess, and every sound became a muffled, distant echo, as if I were drowning. I tried to scream, but only a wet, gurgling gasp escaped my throat. The taste of coppery, thick blood flooded my mouth. I was utterly paralyzed. My legs, my arms, even my head, nothing responded. Only my eyes could move, straining to find the source of approaching footsteps. He calmly settled cross-legged before me, as if preparing to watch a show. You know, he casually remarked, his voice devoid of concern, this is largely your own doing. A silent shriek of outrage tore through my mind, though my lips remained sealed. He reached down, retrieving the jagged stone he'd thrown, a viciously pointed shard, the kind used to border garden beds. You should have done the handstand, he added with a shrug, his tone dismissive. I told you, but you never listen. I struggled to speak, to desperately plead, to beg him for help, but no voice emerged. Trent leaned closer, his breath warm and unsettling on my skin. You're not dying, he declared, a chilling hint of regret in his tone. Not yet. Then the agony erupted. A sudden, brutal wave, blinding, searing fire raged through my legs, my chest, my skull. My vision swam and the metallic tang of blood returned. My body felt distant, as if I were floating above myself, detached. I prayed for unconsciousness, longed for it, but it wouldn't come. I was imprisoned by the torment, trapped in my shattered body in the suffocating dark with the boy who had finally achieved his twisted desire. He had broken me. His cruel monologue continued for an entire, agonizing hour. He prattled on about how I was dependent on him, how I would have been spared this fate if only I had obeyed, how he was the one bearing the burden now because he'd have to explain this to the adults. At one point, he even shed tears not for my pain but for his own impending trouble. Finally, after an eternity of suffocating in pain, he rose. I guess I gotta get Mom, he grumbled. But if you tell them I did anything, I swear I'll. The rest was lost to me. I blacked out. I awoke to harsh lights searing my vision, a nurse frantically calling for medical aid. I was in a hospital bed. The grim tally of my injuries was brutal. A shattered skull, a cracked cheekbone, both legs broken, an arm snapped, 5 cracked ribs, and 2 damaged vertebrae. My parents were already weeping when I regained consciousness. Police officers waited just outside the room. The moment a detective asked what had happened, something inside me broke loose. A dam burst. The torrent of truth poured forth, every torment, every cruel year of bullying, the agony, the terror, each hidden bruise, each gasping struggle, the rock, the fall, the hour he had simply watched me bleed. My voice trembled, but I kept speaking, and for the first time in my life, adults truly believed me. The doctor verified the injury on my head could not have been caused by a simple tumble. It was the result of a forceful blow from a hurled item. Trent's parents attempted to dismiss the truth until the detective revealed the telltale bruise patterns, their distinct forms. The path of impact my wounds clearly indicated deliberate harm, not merely a mishap. Trent was too young for juvenile detention, but he was sent to a long-term behavioral rehabilitation facility in Washington. It was a costly, isolated place with soft, sound-dampening walls and unceasing vigilance. I never saw him again. When I was 12, a letter arrived from him, a page filled with hollow apologies, but it lacked any true remorse. It dripped with irritation. He was annoyed that I had survived, that adults had discovered his cruelty, that he had lost his hold over me. My parents allowed me to burn the letter in the fireplace, and that act offered a deeper, more profound healing than countless hours of counseling ever could. I still carry a slight limp, and debilitating migraines often seize me. A faint scar etches itself behind my right ear, a permanent reminder of where surgeons had to alleviate dangerous swelling, but the deepest wound wasn't visible. It was the agonizing process of rebuilding the shattered fragments of trust, learning to talk to people without bracing for inevitable hurt, learning to look at friendship without the insidious echo of Trent's commands in the back of my skull. It took years to understand that connection isn't control, that genuine warmth isn't a trap, that affection isn't a reward for submission. Sometimes I still occasionally ponder Trent's fate. Did he find a semblance of normalcy? Did he descend further into darkness? Does he even carry the memory of his actions? But then I remind myself of the ultimate reality. He doesn't matter. But no longer. I faced him down and I survived. That in itself is the sweetest victory. Should Trent ever stumble upon these words, I want him to grasp this truth. You nearly claimed my life, but you utterly failed to break me. And you never will. I often pondered the precise instant when a peculiar friend transforms into a glaring warning, a danger you should have severed ties with long ago. For me, that chilling realization struck in the autumn of 2009, deep within a sleepy college town named Willow Creek, a place lost between endless cornfields and greasy fast food joints. The one who pulled me into that unfolding nightmare was Riker Hall. Riker wasn't born peculiar, he became it, like a creeping rot on something once wholesome. And from the moment we crossed paths in 7th grade, he clung to me stubbornly, like tar to a soul. By college, Riker had morphed into the sort of character whispered about for all the wrong reasons. Yet in those earlier days, he was simply that strange, misfit friend who seemed to belong nowhere else but in my wake. Riker resided with his sweet old grandmother, God rest her soul, in a once yellow house that sagged near the train tracks. He treated her home not as a sanctuary, but as a dumping ground for his clutter and a fleeting stopover for himself. He always claimed an unbearable restlessness, unable to sleep in the same bed for more than 2 nights running. What that really meant was he constantly drifted, crashing in my room, in my friend Liam's dusty attic, or in the dank basements of anyone too weary to refuse. And no matter how hard I tried to create space between us, he'd inevitably reappear, as if sensing the precise moment my defenses faltered. The true unraveling began one frigid Thursday night. I was holed up in my dorm, headphones on, battling an overdue essay. The heater was roaring, so I'd cracked the window. That's when I heard it. Yo, open up, bro, Riker's voice. No text, no call, and dorm security certainly didn't welcome strangers scaling walls to student windows. Before I could even stir, a soft thunk echoed and the window slid wider. I whirled around. Riker was half in, muddy boots, torn jacket, a backpack reeking of wet dog. Dude, I hissed, trying to keep my voice low. Are you out of your mind? This isn't some playground. He dropped inside, a triumphant grin plastered across his face as if he'd just pulled off a daring heist. Relax, man, he drawled. I've done this 100 times at other dorms. Yeah, hey, that doesn't make it normal, I retorted. He merely shrugged, shed his muddy boots, and sprawled onto my bed as if staking a claim. Then came the line I'd heard countless times, a sentence that still sent a chill down my spine. I need to crash here for a couple days. In Riker's twisted vocabulary, a couple days always meant until I get booted out again. I sighed, defeated. What fresh hell now? He let out that grating, fake laugh of his, too loud, too theatrical, as if he wanted the entire building to witness his performance. Long story. People just don't get me, they're all sheep. I'm too real for them. The same tired excuse every single time. Riker then delved into his backpack, pulling out a stack of books. My first thought was stolen library textbooks again, but I was wrong. He thrust the first one at me. Look, dude, real power. It was The Infernal Path, Rituals of the Shadow Gate *, a self-published occult tome with a chilling goat-headed symbol on its cover. Then came another, The Black Meridian, Blood Rites for Manifestation *, and yet another, The Grimmer Ledger of a Varus *. All of them looked worn, some still bearing those telltale little white library tags on their spines. He leaned back, a smug look on his face. Been getting into, deeper stuff lately. Deeper stuff like satanic rituals? I asked, my voice flat. He smirked. If that's what the normies call it, sure. Riker, these are library books, I pointed out, exasperated. So, did you even check them out? Why would I? He scoffed. Knowledge belongs to everyone, bro. I buried my face in my hands. He pressed on. You ever felt like Christianity is just, allergic to you? He made a bizarre hacking, gagging sound, like "Goddamn, your soul is too spicy for church." "Riker, I literally go to church," I reminded him. He just grinned. "Yeah, hey, and I respect that, dude, but I'm on a different plane now. Demon stuff, real magic. Those books aren't real," I insisted. I strode through Willow Creek Central Park, a coffee warming my hand, my ears sealed off by music, on my way to class. Then my gaze snagged on him. Riker, surrounded by a cluster of angsty high schoolers near the skate ramp. But he wasn't merely conversing. He was performing asterisk, his arms sweeping through the air, an ominous cult text splayed open on his lap. The teenagers hung on his every word as if he were some dark, forbidden prophet. I instinctively froze, ducking behind a thick tree trunk. "I can grant wishes," he declared, his voice cutting through the park's quiet, "if you perform a ritual with me. It's a deep, personal kind of magic." A cold dread coiled in my gut. Closest to him sat a girl with raven hair streaked with vibrant pink, no older than 15. It was Talia Morno, the younger sister of my coworker. Riker leaned inconspiratorially. "Demons answer to sacrifice," he murmured. "You know, blood, a true link, raw energy. I can reveal its secrets." She appeared visibly uneasy, yet a dangerous curiosity flickered in her eyes. "Holy hell, Riker," I muttered under my breath. "What in God's name are you doing?" Just then, some classmates spotted me and waved me over. I gave them a quick, distracted reply, but when I spun back around, Riker and Talia had vanished. I bolted towards the nearest convenience store, and there she was, just as I feared, Talia, fidgeting nervously with her sleeves outside the entrance. "Talia," I began, my voice carefully soft. "Where's Riker?" she faltered, her gaze flickering. The store's chime sang out and Riker emerged, 2 six-packs of beer clutched in his hands. The moment his eyes landed on me, his face contorted as if I'd shattered his wicked scheme. "Bro," he hissed, pulling me roughly aside. "Can I talk to you?" His voice was a low growl. "Don't you dare interfere, man." She asked me to buy her beer. "Riker," I snapped, "she's 14. "Have you lost your damn mind?" "She's cool," he retorted, mature for her age. "Absolutely not," I declared, my voice firm. He fixed me with a venomous glare as if I'd committed the ultimate spiritual treason. "Man, you always act so damn self-righteous," he sneered. "She wants to hang out, you've got no place. We're heading to Andy's," he muttered, already dismissing my protests. Andy, a mutual acquaintance, lived in a perpetually chaotic 3-bedroom apartment, a common crash pad for Riker. I felt a gnawing unease, but work beckoned. I called Andy the second I could. "Dude," I blurted, "Riker's bringing a 14-year-old girl to your apartment with beer. Stop whatever twisted plan he's cooking up." Andy's reply was immediate and emphatic. Hours later, after my shift finally ended, I glanced at my phone. 13 missed calls blared back at me from Andy, from Talia's brother Mateo, and even, disturbingly, from Riker himself. I dialed Andy first. His voice was a thunderous roar. "Bro, Riker actually tried to get Talia wasted," he raged. "Seriously, right here in my living room? What happened?" I demanded. Mateo burst in like a goddamn hurricane, man. He laid into Riker, knocked him flat. We hauled Riker outside and he just scrambled away, bleeding. My hands trembled uncontrollably. "Is Talia all right?" "She's home," he said, "but she's shaken." Kept repeating Riker told her she was chosen for some dark ritual. I sank slowly into a chair. "And where is Riker now?" He stormed off, Andy recounted, muttering insane prophecies about awakening the gate and how we'd all pay for shaming him. When I finally reached my own house, I descended into the garage basement for laundry. The lights were off, but a sound sliced through the quiet, slow, wet, ragged breathing in the suffocating darkness. My blood turned to ice. I flicked the switch. There sat Riker, cross-legged on the cold concrete floor, bare-chested, his entire torso grotesquely smeared with crimson streaks. Before him lay one of his dreadful occult books, and beside it a colossal 64-ounce slushy cup, half filled with what could only be blood. My breath hitched in my throat. "Riker, what in God's name is this?" He clutched a thin knife, its blade glistening, dripping. He lifted his head, revealing a grotesquely swollen face, eyes ringed with purple, lips cracked and bruised, clear evidence of Mateo's fury. "Dude," he rasped, his voice hoarse and broken, "they're all dead." He shook his head with sudden, violent force. "No, not dead, but they will be, you'll witness it. Blood demands blood." My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in my chest. "You need help, Riker," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You're bleeding badly. Drop the knife." Riker offered a smile, not a human expression, but a grotesque, stretched grimace. "I'm performing the rite of exilum," he declared, his voice chillingly calm. "It craves blood, mine, theirs, and even yours if you don't silence yourself." I slowly, carefully extended my hand towards my phone. He noticed. "No cops," he snarled, his eyes blazing. "I swear to God, if you dare call anyone." I backed out of the basement, my fingers flying as I dialed Andy. 2 agonizing minutes later, Andy and Liam's car screeched to a halt outside. Together, we descended into the chilling gloom. Riker lunged, a wild, desperate blur, but his strength had abandoned him. We overwhelmed him, hauling his struggling form up the stairs, through the back door, and flung him onto the damp, cold grass. "Get out," Andy roared. "If you ever come near Talia again, or any kid, we will *bury* you under the goddamn highway." Riker just sat there, shaking, bleeding, his eyes fixed on us with a look of utter betrayal, as if we'd broken some sacred, ancient vow. "You're all wrong," he rasped, his voice raw. "You think you're safe, but the gate knows your names now." Then, with a chilling, broken gait, he vanished into the swallowing darkness. For the next 15 years, Riker transformed into a chilling local legend in Willow Creek, though not the kind anyone admired. He was the whispered warning behind gas station counters, the dark silhouette parents pointed out, urging their children to steer clear of the man in the long black coat, lurking near empty stairwells. Rumors swirled like a dark current. Tales of crude rituals attempted in the deepest woods, of stolen girls' shoes found at makeshift altars, of his solitary existence in a derelict RV by the cliffs. He even faced arrest twice for public disturbances involving grotesque bodily fluids. He never dared to approach me again directly. Yet sometimes, when our paths crossed on the street, he would fix me with a slow, venomous stare that twisted my gut into knots, a silent, burning indictment. It was a terrifying realization that dawned on me much later. The truly frightening individuals aren't those who merely believe in demons. They are the ones utterly convinced the world owes them everything, who justify inflicting pain on others as part of some twisted, personal ritual. Riker never summoned a demon. He became *1 in the most chillingly human sense imaginable. I still can't pinpoint the precise moment when everything truly began to unravel, but if you asked me to mark the exact instant life stopped making any sense, I'd likely point to the suffocating summer before senior year. That's when Darren's slate finally shattered. Back then, I saw him only as my goofy, loyal best friend, a lanky kid from Fogwood, Oregon, with a perpetually messy mop of hair, a passion for bizarre t-shirts and retro Xbox games, and a laugh that was more of a wheezy snort. It embarrassed him so profoundly he'd instinctively cover his mouth with his sleeve every single time. We crossed paths in 9th grade during a brutal PE class when Coach Hank decreed we pick dodgeball teams. I was passed over, a short, clumsy kid who resembled a dehydrated chicken. Darren fared no better. He couldn't throw for beans and seemed to have sprung into his gangly limbs overnight. Coach Hank's whistle shrieked, slicing through the tension. "All right, Slate and Reynolds, you two are captains of. Everyone else, figure it out." Darren's eyes darted around, wide with panic, before landing on me. You look fast," he stammered. "No, man," I shot back. "I look like a broomstick." He managed a shaky grin. "Okay, then we'll lose together." And just like that, in the shared humiliation of the gym, a friendship was forged. Our lunch breaks became sacred rituals spent in the art hallway, churning out ridiculous sketches and perfecting our teacher impressions. He dubbed me Ray, and I called him Slate, convinced that using our last names made us sound like legendary comic book heroes. But despite how much I adored him, I remained utterly blind to the profound fragility beneath all that laughter. I had no concept of the corrosive power of loneliness, how it could warp a soul. And I certainly never imagined that one day he would scare the absolute hell out of me. It began with a senseless accident. Just 2 weeks before summer vacation, Darren's bike skidded out from under him as he foolishly tried to race down Fogwood Hill, a monstrously steep road none of us should have ever dared to conquer. I remember sprinting towards him, my throat tight with dread, yelling, dude, stop moving, what are you doing? Your leg looks like a pretzel asterisk." He was desperately attempting to stand, his face bleached white, teeth clenched in agony. "Ray, my mom is going to kill me," he gasped. "My leg is killing me." The next few hours blurred into a frantic rush, the hospital, emergency surgery, crutches, and finally, a full, suffocating cast. That entire summer, Darren remained a prisoner within his own four walls. I visited at first, and we'd lose ourselves in games, movies, or online shenanigans. But gradually, he stopped answering the door. His mom would offer strained excuses, always the same. He's sleeping, or he's online with his friends, . The way she uttered friends was a stark admission, even she knew it was a lie. When I messaged him, his replies were curt, dismissive, busy RN or on a call or watching stuff . I chalked it up to depression. Being trapped indoors, I reasoned, could rot anyone's mind. But then he began to post online. Initially, it was typical fare, memes, anime clips, screenshots with amusing captions. Yet the content escalated with terrifying speed. I won't recount the full extent of his posts, some were utterly humiliating. But a disturbing theme emerged, a relentless focus on animated girls. Many animated girls, and none of them were wearing much at all. It wasn't the anime itself that unnerved me, I was a fan of plenty myself. I wasn't bothered by the anime itself, Death Note, Full Metal, Attack on Titan, I watched them too. It was the chilling shift in his entire demeanor, the sheer, suffocating obsession. He spoke as if Fogwood, Oregon no longer existed, as if he'd stepped into some bizarre animated dreamscape where timid girls stumbled into his embrace, whispering senpai with adoration. Others noticed too. Comments flooded his posts, "Dude, what happened to you? Delete this now," or "Someone take his phone," but he ignored them all, posting relentlessly. I tried reaching out. "Bro, you good?" I'd text. His replies were unsettling, "Never better," or "I'm awakened, dude," or "You wouldn't get it." He wasn't kidding. It felt like he was drowning in a digital realm, swapping the real world for his twisted fantasies. Then, school resumed. I'll forever remember the day I finally stepped into his room. It was early September, the Fogwood air already carrying that familiar, bone-chilling dampness of the Pacific Northwest. His cast had just come off and he texted me, "I want to show you something." For the first time in months, a spark of hope ignited. I didn't hesitate. I was genuinely thrilled. Maybe, just maybe, things would revert to how they used to be. We'd play Xbox, swap insults about our teachers, grab greasy burgers at Benny's. The moment I stepped inside, I froze. Walls were swallowed by shelves, and every single shelf was crammed with figures. Not the cool, iconic collectibles like Goku or Levi. Hundreds of animated girls clad in barely their lingerie or completely nude. Poses so explicit I hadn't imagined plastic could bend that way. My stomach lurched, a sickening knot of nausea. Darren, meanwhile, beamed at me, a triumphant grin as if he'd just won a grand prize. What do you think, Ray? Pretty sick, right? He crowed. You spent your entire summer on this, I stammered. He nodded, eyes shining with pride. There's more coming. I pre-ordered like 20. Dude, are you serious? Is your mom okay with all of this? He merely shrugged. She doesn't come in my room anymore. Privacy, man. I navigated the room as if it were a booby-trapped minefield, acutely aware of the figure's vacant eyes that seemed to follow my every move, or so it felt. I swear some were angled directly towards his bed, and the thought sent a shiver of pure revulsion down my spine. Slate, I managed, my voice barely a whisper. This is a lot. He shrugged, utterly unconcerned. It's art, expression, a lifestyle. Yeah, I muttered, the words catching in my throat. It's definitely something. He didn't catch the tremor in my voice, the raw dread. I simply couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth that day. It felt like my closest friend had vanished, replaced by a stranger. Once school began again, Darren's transformation deepened. He no longer just posted about his fantasy world, he lived in it. He adopted the speech patterns of his characters, labeling real girls waifus. His comments earned him bewildered stares every few minutes, yet I remained by his side. Perhaps it was loyalty or simply ingrained habit, or maybe I just couldn't bear to abandon the lanky kid who'd chosen me first for dodgeball, but I knew the whispers, the snickers echoing through the halls. Slate's completely lost it. Bro thinks he's in a cartoon. His room probably smells like pure sadness. Sometimes their mockery would ensnare me too. Aren't you Slate's boyfriend? I mean best friend . You still hang with that dude? You into that weird cartoon girl crap too, Reynolds? I'd try to brush off their taunts, seeking refuge with other groups: Cody, Finn, and Jared, 3 skater kids who practiced reckless tricks behind the gym. Yet I still couldn't bring myself to cut Darren out of my life. I should have . God, I truly should have, because everything, absolutely everything, shattered the day Lily Tran arrived. She was from Seattle, small and quiet, always clutching a sketchbook. Her smile was gentle, almost hesitant, as if she feared imposing. And Darren, he was instantly, irrevocably in love. He declared it on her very first day. That's her, he stated. That's who? I asked. My soulmate. Dude, you don't even know her name, I retorted. She looks like she walked straight out of a slice of life anime, bro. That's fate. I slammed my locker shut. No, that's mental illness. He playfully smacked my shoulder. You'll see. I foolishly imagined he'd approach her like any normal person. Instead, he plunged headfirst into his fantasy. 3 days into the semester, Lily opened her locker and a pink envelope fluttered to the floor. The handwriting was a dramatic, messy scrawl, I know, because she showed me later. To the gentle blossom who walks between worlds was the first line. I nearly gagged. She found a second note 2 days later, then a third. But that time, she caught him. She rounded the corner just as Darren was meticulously sliding another envelope through her locker's vents. He froze as if a plug had been yanked from his back. Hi, she said, her voice soft and kind. You got the messages from the mysterious admirer, he stammered, his face scarlet. Most would have retreated, but Darren had long since abandoned our world. Lily, a genuinely kind soul, tried to be polite, to be friendly, to spare his feelings, and he tragically twisted her gentle nature into a sign of interest. He became her shadow, appearing wherever she went, invading her space at lunch, cutting into her conversations, and proudly displaying photos of his latest figurines as if they were a perfectly normal topic. I vividly recall a scene in the cafeteria. Darren thrust his phone into Lily's face. Look, Lily, he announced, his voice brimming with strange pride. This one's from my newest collection. She's the shy, bookish type, just like you. Lily's face went stark white. I stepped between them, my voice sharp. Bro, back up. She doesn't want to see that. Darren frowned, confused. Ray, don't be rude. I'm not, I retorted. I'm literally protecting you from yourself. Later, in the parking lot, Lily gently tugged my sleeve. Can we talk? She murmured. We sat in my car, the windshield slowly clouding with fog. She began to weep, soft, shaking tears born of fear. I don't want to be cruel, she whispered. I don't want him to think I hate him, but his comments, his stares, these messages, I don't know what to do. She showed me the DMs. My hands clenched, knuckles white. Beautiful drawings of Lily's, disturbing fantasies, strange anime talk about claiming his waifu. All from Darren, my best friend. I felt a sickening lurch in my stomach. Lily, I swear, I told her, my voice firm. I'll handle this. She nodded slowly. Please, I just want him to stop. I meant it with every fiber of my being. I just had no idea how far Darren was truly about to descend. The next morning, I cornered him in the quad. Slate, listen to me, I commanded, my voice firm. You have to stop messaging Lily. He blinked, feigning innocence. Messaging who? Don't play dumb, I snapped. She showed me everything. His jaw tightened, a flicker of something ugly in his eyes. She wasn't supposed to. It doesn't matter, I shot back. You're harassing her. He stepped closer, his gaze unfocused, breathing heavy. She's my destiny, Ray. Why are you trying to ruin this, bro? She's uncomfortable, I repeated, my voice unwavering. He started to speak, but the look on my face must have silenced him because he gave a stiff nod and walked away. That fragile quiet lasted barely 5 days. Then, the real horror began. Monday morning, grotesque drawings were taped to Lily's locker. Tuesday, a used condom was found in her backpack. Wednesday, someone keyed offensive words into the hood of my car. Thursday, printouts of Lily's face, crudely edited onto those degrading anime bodies, were scattered across the girl's bathroom. Friday, a chilling message was scrawled on my locker in black marker, Rye steals wafus. By then, the entire school knew. Everyone had their suspicions about the culprit, but solid proof remained elusive. And Darren, for his part, avoided me like I carried a deadly disease until he couldn't anymore. It was lunchtime. Fogwood High's quad buzzed with noise, kids on skateboards, eating, yelling, tossing footballs. Lily and I sat on the brick wall by the trees, sharing fries. She was quieter than usual, clearly scared and utterly exhausted. I just wish he'd leave me alone, she whispered. I'll take care of it, I promised, my voice firm. I swear he won't get near you again. Then we both heard him. Darren stormed across the quad, his face crimson, hair a wild mess, eyes frantic as if he hadn't slept in days. Students instinctively cleared a path. He pointed a shaking finger at Lily. You, he hissed, his voice raw. You made me look like a joke. You let him. He jabbed a finger towards me. You let him take you away from me. Darren, stop, I yelled, stepping between them. But he violently shoved me aside and grabbed Lily's arm. She yelped. What the hell? I roared. He yanked her closer, wrapping his arms around her in a forceful, desperate hug. I'm sorry, he sobbed, his voice cracking. I'm sorry, my blossom, I didn't mean. His hand then slid across her chest. She screamed. Everything inside me went red. I tackled him with such force that we both slammed onto the unforgiving pavement. And then I lost all control. Punches, fists, pure, unadulterated rage, years of simmering frustration exploding into a violent storm. I don't know how many times I hit him before someone finally pulled me off. All I remember was his face, bruised, bleeding, a mask of utter shock. Security guards dragged me into the office. Students whispered, and I knew someone had filmed the entire brutal scene. The school suspended me for a month while they reviewed the situation, but Lily told the unvarnished truth. Witnesses corroborated her story. Security footage confirmed every horrifying detail. Darren had grabbed her, touched her, relentlessly harassed her for weeks. I wasn't expelled. I wasn't arrested. Darren simply vanished, abruptly transferred to a different school. Months later, a late-night curiosity led me to his social media. He was still stuck in senior year, looking heavier, vacant, and more lost than I'd ever seen him. A sliver of pity pricked at me, but a larger part shivered with fear, knowing he still couldn't comprehend his wrongdoing. Those lost in their own twisted worlds don't just vanish. They wait, they brood, they find someone to fault. 6 years have crawled by, yet Lily still asks, her voice thin with worry, will he ever come back? I always say no. But in the suffocating silence of late nights, when my phone buzzes unexpectedly, or a faint rustle stirs outside on a foggy evening, or a shadow shifts at the edge of our property, my mind races back to his room. I see those shelves of figures, their unblinking plastic eyes, the suffocating grip of his obsession, the chilling way reality held no sway for him. And sometimes, a cold dread washes over me. I wonder if Darren's slate ever truly left Fogwood at all. It never occurred to me that one person could utterly derail my life's path until I encountered Rowan Hale. Back then, I was merely an ordinary kid from Redmond, Indiana, a sleepy town where nothing of real consequence ever transpired. My mother toiled through endless shifts at the clinic. My father, a freight truck driver, was rarely home. My afternoons were largely spent hoisting weights in our chilly garage or tossing a football behind the school. My existence was simple, utterly predictable, and frankly, rather dull. But I found a strange comfort in that quiet monotony. I wasn't a star athlete, though I held my own, not the brightest student, but I passed my courses without issue. I wasn't unpopular, but neither did anyone clamor for my company. I existed in that unremarkable middle ground, not memorable, yet not disliked, and I was perfectly content there until Rowan decided I shouldn't be. It unfolded one unremarkable Tuesday during junior year, in early autumn, a day that began with a crisp chill, yielding to a deceptive afternoon warmth. I was settled at our usual cafeteria table with Tyler, Rick, and Logan, our conversation revolving around the looming game against Eastfield High. Man, I swear those linebackers are juicing, Tyler declared, his mouth full of fries. No one's that huge at 17. Rick snorted, look at his jawline, dude, it's a damn cinder block. We erupted in that mindless, echoing teenage laughter, the kind without a true punchline. Then, without warning, a tray crashed onto the table beside me. We all spun around. It was Rowan Hale, the silent enigma no one truly knew. The kid whose sharp eyes always seemed to be dissecting the world, running complex calculations. The one who haunted lonely hallways, absorbed in books with stark black and white covers, bearing titles like ** The Art of Deception * or * The Psychological Frame *. He dropped into the seat next to me as if it were his rightful place. He began, pointing at me, Illy, right? Yeah, hey, I managed. Cool, he said, a small, self-satisfied smile playing on his lips. I'm going to be your new best friend. The entire table fell into an unnerving silence. Tyler mumbled something under his breath, but Rowan completely ignored him, his gaze piercing mine as if he already knew my answer. His sheer confidence startled me. I wasn't accustomed to being singled out so decisively. I offered a weak shrug. He merely grinned. Knew you'd say that. That was the precise instant my life swerved violently off its ordinary, unremarkable course, plunging into a nightmare that still haunts my sleep. My mother always warned me, not every smile hides a friend, Illy. I used to dismiss her words with a youthful eye roll. She didn't know Rowan, and God help me, neither did I. All my life I'd shied away from conflict. Even during elementary school bullying, I dodged confrontation, never talked back, never challenged anyone. I was quiet, unnervingly calm, emotionally steady, perhaps *2 steady. My father once declared, life will grind you down if you don't learn to fight back. But I never did, I simply allowed things to happen. Rowan, I now realize, must have recognized that weakness instantly. For the initial months, everything felt normal, or at least a convincing imitation. Rowan often came over after school. His words often painted vivid pictures of psychology, of dark philosophy, of all the strange things that captivated him. He had a knack for making the unsettling sound utterly compelling, never truly creepy, just different. He possessed a peculiar, dark humor, often dropping unsettling observations. Humans are just intricate machines, Ali, he'd muse, his voice a low hum. Find the right switch and they'll dance for you. Or, most people stumble through life blind to their own motivations, but you see the strings. That's why I chose you. His words, though strange, felt like a perverse compliment. I didn't fully grasp the chilling implications, but a part of me, starved for recognition, still swelled with a misguided pride. Our afternoons sometimes led us to the quiet lake on the edge of town. Rowan would skip stones, but his throws often held a disturbing force, as if he aimed to strike something unseen, something living. I tried to lighten the mood once, a nervous laugh catching in my throat. "Whoa, dude," I joked, "take it easy. You look like you're trying to murder a fish." He merely smiled, a cold, distant curve of his lips, his gaze fixed on the water. Sometimes, he murmured, I just want to see how deep I can make something disappear. I dismissed it as a dark, quirky metaphor, a strange turn of phrase. What an idiot I was. The first hairline crack in his carefully constructed facade appeared when he casually mentioned a younger brother, lost years ago in a car wreck. "Man, I'm sorry," I'd offered, my voice heavy with genuine sympathy. He'd simply nodded, his face a mask of practiced indifference. It took months, but eventually I stumbled upon the truth. Rowan was an only child. Another time, he spun a tale of his mother working as a nurse at the local clinic. I swallowed it whole until my own mom, who worked there, confirmed no such person existed. His father, he once boasted, was a tech wizard in Chicago. Later, I learned he was a prison guard 2 towns away. Almost every detail Rowan offered about his life had a hidden, darker twin. He operated in 2 distinct realities, the one he spun for me and the stark, unsettling truth I unearthed by pure chance. Yet I foolishly dismissed it all as mere eccentricities, annoying quirks, never truly dangerous. The pattern eluded me. He wasn't lying for personal gain, nor to conceal some dark secret. He lied for the sheer, twisted pleasure of it. That chilling realization should have been my siren call. Meanwhile, small, inconsequential things began to vanish from our house. My mother would fret, "Illy, did you move the sink bleach? I can't find it anywhere." A week later, another complaint. "Where's Grandma's ceramic apple? I swear it was just here." Always small, unremarkable objects. A forgotten coaster, a stray spoon, a half-empty perfume bottle, a glinting safety pin, a worn plush keychain from my early childhood, an old, tarnished photo frame. Nothing valuable, nothing obvious. The thought of Rowan being involved never crossed my mind. Why would he? We were friends, weren't we? One late spring Friday, as the sun bled pink across the sky, Rowan and I sat alone behind the bleachers after practice. He was unnervingly silent. "You good?" I finally ventured, the quiet pressing in. He turned, his gaze dissecting me as if I were a complex riddle. "Illy," he began, his voice barely a whisper, "do you ever truly consider how fragile people are, how simple it is to break them?" I froze, a cold dread snaking through me. "Oh, what?" He picked up a piece of splintered wood, snapping it with a sharp crack that echoed in the twilight. "People," he stated, his eyes unnervingly bright, shattered just as easily. I forced a brittle laugh. "Dude, that's a little dramatic." He didn't join me. I followed someone last night, he confessed, his voice soft, almost proud. My stomach plummeted. What are you talking about? Followed who? Just a woman leaving the grocery store, he shrugged, a chilling smile playing on his lips. I wanted to see how long it would take for her to notice me. My voice trembled. Rowan, that's not funny. You can't just… I didn't do anything, he interrupted, his tone strangely innocent. I just wanted to feel what it was like to be the invisible force, the unknown factor in someone else's life. A shiver, cold and undeniable, ran down my spine despite the lingering warmth of the evening. By senior year, the thought of being near Rowan felt like a suffocating weight. I started crafting elaborate excuses. Heavy homework tonight, man, or my mom's dragging me to a family thing, or coach needs me late after practice. He'd always fix me with that unnerving stare, as if he could see the tangled web of lies forming in my head. You're avoiding me, Ali, he stated flatly one afternoon. I'm just busy, I insisted, my voice too tight. No, he snapped, you're not busy, you're just terrified of something you can't grasp. I said nothing. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous murmur. You're the only one I ever chose, Ali. Don't make me regret it. I forced a hollow laugh, though my hand trembled uncontrollably. After that, my conversations with him dwindled to nothing, and that, I now realize, was when his twisted game truly began. Then came a bleak Monday morning, the kind that drags you down, fueled only by the bitter taste of coffee. I was slumped in math class, pretending to work on some mindless sheet when the intercom suddenly crackled to life. Lily Garver, please report to the office. A hushed "oh, you're in trouble" drifted from behind me. I tried to smirk to play it off, but an icy knot tightened in my chest. I wasn't the kind of kid who got called to the office. My mind raced, conjuring dark possibilities. Dad in an accident, mom collapsed at the clinic. My mind raced, conjuring every nightmare. Stepping into the office, I found Principal Green standing rigid behind her desk, flanked by her secretary and a stony-faced security officer I'd never laid eyes on. Lily, she began, her voice clipped, we need to search your backpack and locker. What, why? I stammered, but she cut me off sharply. It's procedure. My heart pounded like a trapped bird, threatening to burst from my chest. They emptied my bag, just textbooks, a binder, stray papers, and gym socks, nothing more. The principal exchanged a baffled glance with the officer. Then I was marched to my locker. My hands trembled so violently I couldn't even dial the combination. The officer had to open it himself. Inside, only football gear, deodorant, notebooks, and a forgotten bag of pretzels. Illy, the principal stated, her voice slow and grave, we've received multiple reports. They claim you have a list of targeted students and firearms hidden in your locker. The world seemed to shatter beneath my feet. My voice cracked, a desperate whisper. I never said that. Who told you this? We cannot disclose student names, she replied, her tone unyielding. But I didn't do anything. Hot, unstoppable tears suddenly streamed down my face. I hated my weakness, but pure, raw terror had seized me. The secretary's stern expression softened. Sweetheart, come with me. She handed me a styrofoam cup of tea, but my hand still trembled so violently it sloshed onto the counter. I pleaded again for a name, but she merely repeated her refusal. Then she added a single sentence, a chilling whisper that echoed in my mind for years. They truly believed you were planning something. They thought they were helping you. Why? I wondered, my mind reeling. Why would anyone believe that about me? I spent the rest of the day in a daze, numb. The school hallways felt colder, eyes lingered on me, and whispers followed my every step. A week later, they offered an apology, a hollow, rehearsed statement. The accusations appear to have been unsubstantiated. The students were misled by who I didn't want to admit the truth, but I knew exactly who was behind it. 3 months later, I fled to the University of Dayton, 2 states away. I told Rowan nothing, not a single word about my destination. I craved distance, space, freedom from his shadow, but he found me. An email landed in my private college inbox. Seeing his name, Rowan Hale, sent a jolt of pure dread through me, freezing my blood in my veins. The email was horrifyingly long, a twisted confession. He laid out every lie, every stolen item, explaining his warped motives or lack thereof. Attached was a photo, a chilling arrangement of small objects on a table. My mom's ceramic apple. The bottle of bleach, the perfume, my childhood keychain, a picture of me as a little boy, insignificant pieces of my home, now trophies. A corner of the daily newspaper, a brutal timestamp marked it as a perverse trophy. Rowan called them his tokens. He bragged about twisting the students' minds, convincing them I had a hit list. He boasted about making them believe the tip came from someone else, about pulling the strings of the investigation from the shadows. His final chilling words, "I never wanted you to actually suffer. I just wanted you to know what I could do if I ever needed to." I never replied. I blocked his email. I tried to move on, but the scars of trauma don't simply fade away. Years have passed since Rowan's last contact. I've built a seemingly normal adult life, moved permanently to Ohio, found a steady job at a warehouse, started dating, bought a used car, got my own place. I don't think about Rowan every day. But whenever something strange occurs, a door left ajar, mail arriving with a wrong address, a phantom call at 3 a.m. from an unknown number, a misplaced key, a fleeting shadow in my peripheral vision in a parking lot, the chilling question always strikes first. Is he back? Is he bored again? Did his life become too ordinary, too quiet, too predictable? Did he remember me? Did he tire of tormenting someone else? Sometimes I jolt awake in the dead of night, convinced a presence lingers in my hallway. It's foolish, I know, irrational, a childish fear. I tell myself it's just anxiety, a phantom of my past. But then his words echo in the silence. I just wanted you to know what I could do. And I lie there, rigid in the dark, wondering, what if he's waiting? What if he's crafting a new game? What if he's just around the next corner? I don't know what became of Rowan Hale after college, and every single day I pray he remains endlessly occupied. I pray he remains perpetually distracted, because I know the chilling consequences of Rowan's boredom. I barely escaped his twisted games once. I doubt I could survive them again. Los Angeles was never a city I envisioned myself in. My younger self, barely 18, probably yearned for a place where the sun wasn't a relentless inferno. Yet, in your mid-20s, navigating your identity and desperate for a true community after years in a suffocatingly judgmental mountain town, you often land precisely where you least expect. LA shimmered with the promise of new beginnings. It felt like the first place I could truly inhale without constantly glancing over my shoulder. For a time, LA felt like salvation, like home. I settled into a cramped Koreatown apartment filled with mismatched thrift store finds. A single, temperamental hallway light flickered each night, casting sinister shadows that always made me jump. And my landlord, despite my monthly corrections, insisted on calling me Mija. Yet, I genuinely adored it all. I embraced the chaos, the vibrant noise, the glorious freedom of stepping out at 1 a.m. for tacos, utterly free from prying eyes. I loved the pulse of the city, and I believed its people. That's where a specific individual entered my world, a guy named Jax. Not Jackson, not some charming nickname, just Jax. He declared he chose the name because it sounded cooler, a detail that even now makes me wince with an involuntary shudder. Our paths crossed at a Silver Lake drag night, where a queen with fierce purple brows and glitter cascading to her collarbone was delivering a gloriously chaotic lip sync to some obscure, frantic song. Jax collided with me at the bar, dousing my skirt in mezcal. "Oh my God, babe," he gasped, his voice a theatrical whisper. "I am so incredibly sorry. You look like an angel drowned in tequila." He was vibrant, boisterous, hysterically funny, and to a lonely soul new to the city, his charm was utterly captivating, almost dangerous. We instantly connected. He was a flamboyant, disheveled gay Latino from East LA, perpetually sporting sunglasses after dark as if evading an invisible paparazzi. I, a pansexual woman who primarily dated men, had never encountered such immediate, potent magnetism. We became utterly inseparable. If anyone had dared to tell me then that this very man would one day bring me to the brink of death, I would have laughed in their face and dismissed them as utterly insane. It was late July, and LA was caught in that suffocating embrace where the day's heat refused to yield, clinging even after dusk. My apartment's AC had betrayed me once more, leaving me to worship a cheap oscillating fan as if it were my only salvation. That evening, a massive rooftop party was set to ignite downtown at the Edison Sky Bar, one of those exclusive venues influencers casually pretend to have just stumbled upon. A DJ flown in from Miami was spinning, drinks flowed freely until 10, and the crowd promised a vibrant, chaotic blend of queer and straight revelers. Jax arrived for our usual pre-game ritual, but something was profoundly off. His usual flamboyant energy was replaced by an unnerving restlessness. He paced my cramped living room, his fingers drumming a frantic rhythm on every surface, his leg vibrating with the relentless intensity of a jackhammer. His bleached hair, usually meticulously styled, stood on end, as if he'd raked his hands through it 1,000 times in a fit of agitation. "Yo, why are you buzzing like you mainlined a dozen energy drinks?" I asked, my brow furrowed. "Girl," he declared, collapsing onto my sofa with a flourish, "I met someone." "Ooh, spill all the tea," I chirped, already leaning in. But his face remained unsmiling, unblushing, utterly devoid of the usual excitement. "Nah, it's not like that," he murmured, his voice oddly flat. "Just someone new, someone I'm spending time with." It should have been a blaring alarm, a crimson banner waving in my face, but I, oblivious, simply laughed and fetched us 2 seltzers from the fridge. We cranked up the music, chatted about our jobs, griped about the soaring rent, and bickered good-naturedly over which taco truck reigned supreme on Western Avenue. The easy familiarity settled back around us, a comforting illusion of normalcy. Until, that is, I casually revealed I'd matched with a new guy on Tinder, Riley, and planned to meet him at the party. Jax froze. He stopped mid-sip, his seltzer suspended in the air, his eyes locking onto mine with an utterly blank, unnerving stare. "You're meeting him tonight?" he asked, his voice a low, devoid of emotion rumble. "Yeah, he's going to be there," I replied a little too brightly. "Pretty cute, tattoos, works in sound engineering." Jax slowly, deliberately set his drink down. "Babe, why in God's name would you meet some random dude from an app in downtown at night?" I rolled my eyes, a dismissive scoff escaping my lips. "Okay, Grandma. Meeting people through apps is common practice," I reminded him. "Not everyone," he snapped back, his voice cutting. "You shouldn't." "Jax, what on earth are you talking about? You connect with strangers from apps constantly." He violently shook his head, a frantic denial. No, it's different." He offered no explanation, instead leaping up to pace my cramped living room, a man wrestling with unseen tormentors. "People vanish out here," he muttered, his voice a chilling rasp. "They disappear downtown. Do you honestly believe you're safe, that these men can't overpower you?" His words, sharp with an unknown terror, twisted my stomach into a cold knot. "Okay, what's truly happening?" I pressed, a sudden certainty dawning. "This isn't about Riley." "Yes, it is," he shrieked, a sound that ripped through the air. I flinched, startled. Jax never screamed. The tiny room fell into an unnerving silence, broken only by the ancient fan's frantic whirring. He tore both hands through his bleached hair, clutching it as if trying to hold himself together. I don't want anything to happen to you, he whispered, his voice raw with a desperate plea. You don't understand. I moved towards him, slowly, cautiously. Jax, please, talk to me. What's truly wrong? He didn't meet my gaze, didn't stir, merely repeating, please don't meet him tonight. I dismissed it as mere overprotectiveness, annoying, yes, but ultimately harmless. I turned back to my mirror, applying lipstick, a dismissive smile playing on my lips. Look, I appreciate the concern, but I'm not a child, Jax. I can absolutely handle myself. It was then, in the mirror's reflection, that I saw him. Jax, standing directly behind me, his expression utterly vacant, eyes dark and hollow, face terrifyingly still. Jax, I whispered, a thread of unease tightening in my chest. He didn't answer. Instead, he took another step closer. Why do you never listen? He asked, his voice chillingly soft, almost a caress. His hand shot out, a sudden blur, his arm locking around my neck, yanking me violently backward. What the hell, Jax? I gasped, terror seizing me. He tightened his grip, crushing my windpipe. My lungs burned, desperate for air. I clawed at his arm, my nails tearing at his skin, but he remained utterly unmoving, a statue of pure malice. You're so small, he hissed, his breath hot against my ear. Do you honestly believe you can fight a man bigger than you? A stranger from downtown? You think you could stop him? My vision swam at the edges, the room dimming, a suffocating panic exploding in my chest. Let go of me, I choked out, then elbowed him with every ounce of my strength. A sickening crack echoed bone, perhaps, or something far worse, and he stumbled back with a pained shriek. But instead of retreating, he snapped. His face contorted, twisting into something utterly feral, as if a dark switch had flipped, erasing any trace of recognition for me. You hurt me, he growled, his voice guttural. Then with a furious roar, he rammed me forward. My face slammed into the mirror. Glass exploded outwards in a blinding shower of shards. White-hot pain seared through me, and I collapsed to the floor, hot, sticky blood already streaming into my eyes. Before I could even draw a breath, he was on top of me, a whirlwind of fists and screams, his blows raining down on my cheek, my jaw, my shoulder, my temple. I felt a sickening crack inside my mouth. I shrieked, slapping wildly, tearing at his hair, his shirt, anything I could grasp. He didn't pause, didn't relent, his voice a broken record. You don't listen. You don't listen. You don't listen? And with a desperate surge, I spat blood, thick and coppery, directly into his face. He froze. Everything stopped. The brutal hitting, the raw screaming, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. Then Jack stumbled backward, his eyes wide with dawning horror. What did oh my God. He scrambled to his feet, pacing frantically, tearing at his shirt, gasping for air in ragged, panicked bursts. No, 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 he repeated, his voice thin with terror. They're watching, they're watching. Jax, I sobbed, my voice choked with pain and fear. Please stop, you're terrifying me. But my words didn't reach him, he was no longer tethered to our reality. Much later, I would learn the brutal truth. Jax had consumed something earlier, believing it to be mere cocaine. But the batch was tainted with a synthetic, potent substance, capable of inducing temporary psychosis in high doses. I knew none of this then. All I truly grasped was that my best friend had just tried to murder me. Jax abruptly ceased his frantic pacing. He sank onto my sofa and then, without warning, began to weep, not with panic, but with the quiet, broken sorrow of a lost child. Jax, I whispered, my voice barely a thread. He offered no response. I crawled, pain searing through me, towards my phone, my hands trembling violently as I dialed 911. When the officers arrived, Jax offered no resistance, no words, not even a glance in my direction. They led him away in cuffs, a silent, broken figure. I was rushed to the hospital. A broken tooth, ribs brutally bruised, a concussion, and countless glass cuts adorned my forehead, neck, and arms. The ER nurse, holding my trembling hand, murmured, "Sweetheart, you are incredibly lucky to be alive." And I knew, with a chilling certainty, she was right. They say trauma comes in waves, but they never warn you that the aftershocks can shatter your peace for months, even years. Jax was placed on a mandatory psychiatric hold. The dealer responsible was swiftly apprehended. Other victims had also come forward about the tainted substance. My friends insisted I pursue legal action, but I declined, setting a single, non-negotiable term. Jax had to cover my dental expenses and then vanish from my life permanently. He accepted, and true to his word, he evaporated, leaving no trace. I harbor no hatred for him, nor do I wish him ill, yet I know I will never again feel secure in his presence. Certain wounds simply cannot heal. Some bonds, like shattered glass, break irrevocably. No amount of effort can fuse them back into wholeness. And some individuals, they conceal tempests within their souls, hidden until they unleash their devastation. Wherever Jax may be today, my sole prayer is that he inflicts no further harm. For, as agonizing as it is to confess, I am terrifyingly aware of what he is capable of. I had always believed the gravest betrayal a friend could commit was simply to fade away, the gradual silence, the new companions, the convenient excuses of demanding schedules. I never conceived that the most perilous friend I would ever encounter would be someone I considered a brother, a soul seemingly fractured and adrift, someone I genuinely sought to aid. Too late, I understood. Some people don't crave salvation, they demand possession. At that time, my world revolved around a quiet suburb near Ronford, Illinois. It was the sort of town where every secret was public knowledge, yet every catastrophe still provoked feigned shock. I was 24, navigating the relentless grind of night shifts at a UPS distribution center, each paycheck a desperate bid to chip away at debts and piece together a semblance of a future. I'd typically return home reeking of cardboard and grit, bone-weary and ravenous. It was then that Trent L. Verley resurfaced in my existence. In high school, he'd been just the kid from across the street, never a close confidant, but a familiar face. After graduation, he'd simply vanished, relocating to Arizona with distant relatives. Whispers followed him, "He has issues." No one ever elaborated on what those issues entailed. My mother, with an unsettling prescience, would murmur, "That boy carries a tempest within him, a deep, restless unease." I, however, saw only a quiet guy, reserved, who occasionally helped me repair my bicycle or swap vintage video games. So, when he unexpectedly reappeared in Ronford and I stumbled upon him at the 7-Eleven late one night, a genuine warmth flooded me. "Holy hell, Trent," I exclaimed, my eyes wide as if confronting a specter. He offered his characteristic slow smile, a faint curve that never quite reached the depth of his eyes. "Damn, Nate, you shot up or something," or maybe I shrank. I chuckled, a nervous energy rising, and clapped him on the shoulder. "Dude, where have you been?" "Just trying to survive," he mumbled, a shrug dismissing years. Arizona was a pit, too many people trying to be your friend for all the wrong reasons. That line, that chilling inflection, should have been a blaring alarm. I should have seen the hidden challenge in his words, the subtle test, but I didn't. Instead, I casually suggested we catch up, and that, I now understand, was my initial, catastrophic error. From that moment, Trent began appearing at my doorstep. Initially, it felt innocuous. He'd knock around 9 in the evening, just as I was preparing for my shift, offering, "Yo, need a lift?" "Don't even worry about it." I'd playfully brush him off. "No need to be my personal chauffeur, man." He'd just insist, "Bro, come on, we're neighbors again." This is just what people do. And at did asterisk seem normal, harmless even. But insidiously, his visits stretched longer. He'd wander into my kitchen as if it were his own, his questions becoming increasingly probing. You always lock your bedroom door at night? Your mom still keeps that spare house key somewhere, still in touch with your ex. What was her name again? Jenny, Jamie? At first, I dismissed it as casual banter. Yet sometimes, if I hesitated even slightly in my reply, his expression would shift. He'd fix me with a gaze that felt like he was dissecting my very thoughts, measuring my reactions, as if he could discern a lie even when I spoke the truth. One night, utterly drained after an exhausting shift, I arrived home at 4:15 in the morning. I found him perched on my porch steps. I lurched backward, my keys clattering to the ground. "Jesus, Trent, what are you doing here?" He slowly lifted his head. "You didn't text back." "I was at work," I reminded him, my voice thick with exhaustion. "I told you that hours ago. I just didn't like the thought of you walking in alone this late," he stated, his tone unnervingly calm. "It's dangerous out here." "That's thoughtful," I conceded, "but dude, it's 4 in the morning." His words, "I don't sleep much," were delivered with an unsettling calm that sent a shiver down my spine, a dread I couldn't articulate. In the following weeks, Trent's presence became an inescapable shadow, weaving itself into every corner of my life. My mornings were invaded by his random, probing texts. "You awake? Noticed your light was on late. Why the silence earlier? Were you out somewhere?" I desperately tried to dismiss it, to rationalize his behavior. I reminded myself of his difficult past, the struggles with his mental health, the lack of a stable home. Perhaps I thought he was just a lonely soul craving a true friend. But one Thursday night, everything shifted into a chilling new gear. I had just finished my shift and settled into a Discord call with Griffin, Jack, and Sloan, my true companions, friends for years. We were deep in our usual banter, filled with laughter and easy conversation, when a single, sharp knock echoed. Not from the front door, but from my bedroom door. "Hold on," I murmured into the mic. "Someone's here." Griffin's laugh crackled through the speakers. "At this hour? Got a secret date?" "Shut it, Nate," I grumbled, pulling off my headset. A second knock, slow and heavy, vibrated through the wood. I cautiously opened the door a crack and nearly recoiled. Trent stood there, inside my house, his breath coming a little too fast. "How did you get in?" I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. He slowly lifted a small, tarnished silver key. "You gave me this ages ago, remember, for looking after your dog that summer." I simply stared, utterly speechless. "That was a decade ago. I hadn't owned a dog since high school." "Well," he drawled, taking a step closer, "guess it still works." My hand instinctively braced against the doorframe. "Why are you here, Trent? You didn't reply to my messages," he stated, his tone unnervingly flat. "Dude, I'm just gaming with my friends, that's it." "Which friends?" he pressed. "The usual crew," I replied, trying to sound normal. His eyes narrowed, sharp and accusatory. "Why wasn't I invited?" "Because you don't really play this game," I offered, trying to be gentle. "That's a lie," he snapped, his voice suddenly sharp. "I've played it before." I swallowed a knot of dread. "Okay, man, look, it's late. Can we talk about this tomorrow?" "No," Trent countered, closing the distance between us even further. "I'm here now. I gently, meticulously closed the door between us. His voice, low and unsettling, seeped through the wood. "Why are you locking your door, Nate? Don't you trust me?" I offered no reply, feigning deafness. Eventually, his footsteps faded, but the tremor in my hands persisted long after he was gone. 2 nights later, after a desperate 48-hour attempt to disappear from Trent's radar, I was back in a game with the guys. My headset was on, and I forced laughter, pretending everything was normal, but my eyes kept darting to my phone. No Trent, no messages, no calls. Then, around 2:07 a.m., just as our call ended, my phone buzzed. An unknown number, a picture attached. My stomach clenched with a sickening lurch. I unlocked the screen, opening the image. It was *me*, sitting at my desk, gaming with my friends. The angle was from directly behind, precisely as if someone had been standing in my hallway, watching through the narrow gap of my barely ajar bedroom door. My blood ran to ice. "Jesus Christ," I whispered, a desperate plea. "No, no, no, no." I spun violently in my chair. My bedroom door was indeed open, exactly as wide as in the chilling photograph. I hadn't heard a sound, hadn't seen a shadow, but the entire house felt *wrong*. The air itself seemed to thicken, pressing down on me, and my hands started to tremble uncontrollably. With trembling fingers, I messaged our group chat. "Guys, I think Trent was in my house again." My heart hammered. "Nate, he just sent me a photo of me gaming." Jack's reply was immediate. "Bro, what?" "Griffin." "Call the cops now." "Sloan." "You need to get out of the house." Holy expletive! My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, threatening to burst free. I slowly, cautiously eased open my door and stepped into the hallway. A suffocating silence hung in the air, absolute and unnerving. I peered into the living room, then the kitchen, both empty. Then, as I rounded the corner, my gaze locked onto the front door. It stood wide open, a chilling draft of cold night air seeping into the house. "No way," I whispered, the words hollow. A floorboard creaked, loud and distinct, directly behind me. Pure terror propelled me. I sprinted back to my room, slammed the door shut, and instantly twisted the lock. Heavy, deliberate footsteps followed, stopping just outside my door. Knock, knock, knock. My blood turned to ice in my veins. I stumbled backward until the edge of my bed pressed against my legs. The doorknob jiggled, a faint metallic whisper, then twisted harder, more insistent. His voice, low and unnervingly calm, seeped through the wood. "Nate, open the door, man." I remained utterly silent. He knocked again and again. Then, a chilling quiet. With hands that shook uncontrollably, I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911. But before the dispatcher could even finish asking for my address, I heard those deliberate footsteps retreat down the hall, through the living room, and finally out the front door. By the time the police arrived, Trent had vanished into the night. The police found no sign of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing taken. The number he used was untraceable. They questioned my recent conflicts, and I confessed everything. Their knowing nod seemed to predict a grim future I hadn't yet imagined. A lone officer drew me aside, his voice low. "We've had prior reports about him," he revealed. "He's cunning, meticulous, leaves no evidence, speaks no word, damages nothing. But he watches *." The word hung in the air, a chilling confirmation. "Keep your deadbolts secured," he warned, "and avoid being alone." Sleep became a distant memory that night. I huddled on my bed, my eyes glued to the ominous shadows beneath my door, convinced I'd hear his insidious whisper. A full week of unnerving quiet passed. Then the messages resumed, each one from a new, untraceable number. "Why the locked windows? Where did you go last night? Your porch light is dead. Someone might visit." Calling the police was a mistake. I sealed my curtains, avoided late-night errands, and snatched mere fragments of sleep. My friends pleaded for me to stay with them, but I couldn't bear to pull them into this spiraling nightmare. I foolishly believed silence would make him disappear. I was tragically mistaken. It was a Friday, 3:41 a.m. A faint creak of a floorboard in the hallway outside my bedroom jolted me awake. My heart seized in my chest. Slowly, I sat upright, straining to listen. Another creak. Someone was undeniably inside my house again. My fingers fumbled for my phone, texting Griffin, "Bro, I think he's here." "Call the cops." His frantic reply, "Nate, I can't. He'll hear me. Where is he?" "Hall outside my room." Then a new message flashed from an unknown sender. It was a photo my bedroom door snapped from mere inches away with a chilling shadow stretching beneath the crack. I clamped a hand over my mouth, stifling a terrified gasp. The doorknob began to turn, slowly, deliberately, as if he savored the terror building within me. I seized the metal baseball bat I kept by my dresser, silently moving to a blind spot in the corner, ready to strike. The doorknob clicked, but the lock held firm. A tense silence, then his voice, muffled through the wood. "Dude, let me in, we need to talk." I was frozen, barely breathing. "Nate," he said, a hint of irritation in his tone. "Come on, man, don't make this weird." A frantic urge to laugh and scream simultaneously clawed at my throat. After a prolonged, agonizing quiet, his voice softened, an insidious whisper, "You were supposed to be my friend." A wave of revulsion washed over me. He sounded genuinely hurt, as if I had been the one to betray him. The knocking resumed, louder now, a rhythmic thud against the wood, utterly wrong. Then, abruptly, nothing. A suffocating silence descended. I waited, an eternity stretching in the dark. As the first sliver of dawn pierced my blinds, I cautiously eased my door open. He was gone. The front door stood ajar once more. Police later found chilling footprints etched in the frost on my lawn, but nothing else. 2 weeks later, after fortifying my home with new locks, cameras, and alarms, every conceivable defense, I finally dared to sleep again. I desperately hoped he'd given up, that he understood he could no longer reach me. But last night at 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated. This time a video. I opened it. The screen showed my street, then my house, the camera slowly, inexorably zooming in until it settled on my bedroom window. His voice, a faint, chilling whisper, drifted from behind the lens. "I've been patient, Nate. But friends don't ignore friends forever." The video cut out. I stared at my own terrified reflection in the blank screen, my pulse thrumming wildly in my throat. He wasn't gone. He was lurking, observing, plotting. I have no idea when he'll return or what twisted desire drives him. But now I sleep with a bat clutched in my hands. And sometimes, when the house falls silent in the dead of night, I swear I hear faint footsteps just outside my window. And a primal fear deep within me knows, with absolute certainty, that the worst friend I ever had isn't through with me yet. Not by a long shot. I never truly grasped the profound impact a single connection could have on the entire trajectory of my existence until the winter I relocated to Riverbend. It was a hushed town nestled awkwardly between a desolate industrial zone and a dense patch of woods that always appeared unnaturally dim. I was 23, striving desperately to stay afloat after financial woes and family crises forced me to abandon college. My mother's illness the previous year had left us buried under an avalanche of medical debt. The loss felt like an inevitable, agonizing descent. I was powerless to halt the collapse. After her death, my entire world fractured. My mind frayed, my studies crumbled, my drive evaporated. I abandoned college, grasping at any work I could find. Months of barely surviving convinced me a quieter town might offer a chance to reclaim my breath. Riverbend held no particular charm. Its homes were ancient, the streets scarred with potholes deep enough to swallow a wheel, and its residents largely kept to themselves, unless fueled by liquor or gossip. Yet it offered a profound stillness, a balm far superior to the chaos that had nearly consumed me. I found work at Franklin's, the town's hardware store, managed by a man whose eyes perpetually suggested decades of sleepless nights. The air inside clung to the scent of fresh sawdust, metallic lubricants, and stale coffee. Our clientele consisted mainly of elderly locals mending their homes or contractors perpetually cursing that nothing in this damn town is level, each job a declared catastrophe. It was straightforward, exhausting labor, but it was reliable. And there, my path tragically intersected with Reagan Hall. He wasn't my friend from the start. In truth, I desperately wish he had remained a complete stranger, but such is the insidious nature of these connections. Destructive friendships rarely arrive with a blaring alarm. Reagan possessed a silver tongue, capable of charming his way into any situation or talking himself out of any trouble. His disheveled, sandy blonde hair was perpetually swept back, revealing a smile that seemed both utterly self-assured and strangely weary. He addressed everyone as brother, even strangers he'd known for mere moments. People gravitated towards him. Initially, I did too. When adrift in a new place, a desperate loneliness can make you grasp at anyone who offers a fleeting sense of belonging. He worked part-time handling deliveries in the stockroom. For our first few shifts, our interactions were limited to brief greetings and practical warnings. But soon enough, during our lunch breaks, he'd drift towards my counter, two inexpensive sodas in hand, tossing one my way before launching into a rambling monologue about whatever wild thoughts occupied his mind. Reagan possessed an uncanny ability to elicit laughter, even when my day felt utterly devoid of joy. After all I had endured, I hadn't realized how profoundly I craved that simple relief. Our after-work gatherings began innocently enough. Casual meals, aimless late-night drives through town, chugging convenience store slushies like carefree teenagers, sharing the typical bravado-laden conversations about life, women, and financial woes, a thinly veiled display of vulnerability beneath layers of sarcasm. I genuinely believed he was a true companion, yet the warning signs were there, subtle tremors I foolishly dismissed. He'd weave elaborate falsehoods about trivial, bizarre things. He'd swear he was once a semi-professional boxer, despite his lanky, scarecrow build. He'd boast that his family controlled half the east side, yet as we drove through, no one so much as offered a nod. Sometimes he'd exhibit a strange possessiveness, appearing unannounced at my apartment or growing visibly irritated if I chose to socialize with other colleagues. But the crushing weight of loneliness can render even the brightest red flags utterly invisible. The true turning point arrived in late February. We had both finished our shifts early, the hardware store having transformed into an icebox after its heating failed. Reagan claimed he wasn't keen on heading home and inquired if he could linger at my apartment for a while. I saw no reason to refuse. My apartment was cramped, a low-rent space on Linen Street perched above a vacant storefront that once housed a bakery. The heating barely functioned, the floorboards groaned with every step, and the walls were so thin I could hear my neighbor's every sniffle, yet it was my sanctuary. We settled onto the sofa, pizza boxes strewn across the table, an ancient slasher film flickering on the screen. The atmosphere felt utterly ordinary until my phone vibrated. It was a text from Marley, a coworker from the front desk, someone I was tentatively seeing, though the unspoken understanding hung delicately between us. Before I could even angle the screen away, Reagan leaned over my shoulder, his presence an immediate invasion. "Who's that?" he demanded. "A friend," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. He narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing the screen as if attempting to peer directly into my thoughts. "She interested in you?" I offered a noncommittal shrug. "I don't know," he let out a dismissive snort. "Man, believe me, a girl like that, she's only after attention. That's all any of them want in this town." His words struck me with an unsettling force. The possessive way he spoke, as if he knew her intimately, as if he had some claim or deep-seated reason to interfere, unnerved me. Noticing my sudden shift in expression, he quickly added, "Yo, relax, bro. I'm just messing," but the casual dismissal didn't fool me. A chilling certainty settled in my gut. That was the opening act. For weeks, an unsettling current ran beneath the surface of my days. Marley, once so approachable, became a ghost. Her texts ceased, her laughter vanished from our breaks, and one afternoon I watched her trace a wide, deliberate arc around the store, purely to escape my presence. Reagan, however, wore a mask of feigned ignorance. Yet whenever her name surfaced, a subtle, knowing smirk would play on his lips, hinting at secrets I wasn't privy to. Then, one night, the fragile peace shattered. Close to midnight, I was lost in a game, headset clamped on, trading playful jabs with old friends, trying to shed the day's grind. My apartment hummed with a deceptive quiet, broken only by the heater's struggling breath. Mid-match, my phone flared to life, an unfamiliar number. I dismissed it as spam, but it screamed again, then a third time. "You good?" My friend's voice crackled through the mic as my own fell silent. "Yeah, just a strange number," I mumbled as the third relentless ring finally died. I tried to shake it off, but minutes later, a text from Marley shattered my calm. Her words, stark and urgent, bore none of her usual playful rhythm. "We should talk now." A knot tightened in my gut. Asterisk, what about? Asterisk, I typed, my fingers suddenly clumsy. Before her reply, another message landed, this time from the unknown number. "You shouldn't trust him." A chill snaked down my spine. Asterisk, who is this? Asterisk, I demanded, but the silence on the other end was absolute. Then the most terrifying text of all, "He's already inside." My chair shrieked as I spun around, heart hammering. My room was empty. I sprang up, checking the living room, then the hall. The front door stood ajar, asterisk ajar, asterisk I always locked it. My heart vaulted into my throat, a frantic bird. I slammed the door shut, twisting the lock, then frantically double-checked every window, every closet, even peering behind the shower curtain like a madman. Nothing seemed amiss. Back in my room, I seized my phone, my gaze fixed on the screen as another text arrived. It was a photo. Asterisk, my asterisk gaming room, shot from the hallway, capturing my back as I sat at the desk, headset on. My hands began to tremble violently, uncontrollably. "What in God's name?" I whispered, my voice raw. I sent the image to my friend. "Dude, call the cops now," he roared. "Someone's in your house." I didn't need a second warning. I stumbled backward, slamming and locking my bedroom door. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out my own thoughts. Then a soft, deliberate rap echoed from just outside my door. Unhurried, patient, my breath caught in my throat. Another rap. I swallowed a dry gasp. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice thin. A voice, unnervingly calm, almost friendly, replied, "Open up, man, it's me." My stomach plunged, but he shouldn't have been there. We hadn't spoken since lunch. I'd never given him a key, and I certainly hadn't invited him in tonight. "What are you doing here?" I choked out. He ignored my question. "Why'd you lock the door?" he countered. "Come on, man, don't be weird." His voice was devoid of warmth, stripped of any pretense of humor or friendship. It was simply empty. My trembling hand fumbled for my phone, whispering my address to the emergency operator. Outside, the doorknob rattled, a sinister tremor. "Quit that," Reagan's voice cut through the wood. "Open up." Then, a slow, deliberate asterisk scratch asterisk, the sound of long fingernails dragging down the door, a chilling caress. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering against my ribs. Then his next words, a chilling whisper, turned my blood to ice. "I know you saw the picture." My legs threatened to buckle. "How did you get in?" I gasped, the words barely escaping. A beat of silence, then a low, soft laugh. "Man, you really don't get it." Footsteps retreated from my door, fading into an unnerving silence. Moments later, the front door creaked open, then softly clicked shut. The police arrived within minutes, but it was useless. He was gone. No forced entry, no telltale footprints, not a single trace. They probed about bitter exes, old grudges, hidden enemies. I could only offer, no, just a friend behaving strangely. Their skeptical gazes made it clear they didn't believe me. After they departed, I huddled on my couch, paralyzed by fear, watching the pre-dawn light creep in, dreading another knock that never came. But the true terror didn't fully sink in until the next day. At work, I spotted Marley behind the counter. Her eyes, usually so bright, were clouded with fear. She didn't meet my gaze, didn't offer a smile. "Hey," I began, my voice a cautious whisper, "can we talk?" Marley's throat bobbed and she pulled me away, her movements stiff with alarm. "I don't know what darkness you've fallen into," she barely breathed, her voice a terrified plea, "but for God's sake, keep me out of it." My mind reeled. "Darkness? What did I do?" She shook her head, a sharp, dismissive gesture. "Don't pretend you don't know, you no what you sent me." A cold dread seized me. "What I sent you?" I whispered, my voice barely there. She pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling. On the screen, a message from my number, words I had never typed. "You should stay away from him. He gets obsessive, he watches people, be careful." Then another image flashed, a photograph of me taken from far away, lurking in the hardware store parking lot, my face half hidden behind my car door as if I were stalking her. My legs felt like jelly. "Marley, I swear to God, I didn't send that," I pleaded, my voice cracking. Her eyes, wide with terror, met mine. "He told me you'd say that," she whispered, and a wave of pure horror washed over me. A deep chill snaked up my spine. She hesitated, then barely breathed. "Your friend Reagan." My stomach clenched. I slowly shook my head. "Marley, he's not my friend, not anymore." She recoiled from me as if I carried a plague, muttering, "Just keep him away from me." But she didn't grasp the truth. I wasn't the threat. The most terrifying realization clawed at me. Reagan had been burrowed deep inside my life, worming his way into my phone, my messages, my contacts, my very accounts, long before he ever set foot in my apartment. He had found a way in. He wasn't a friend, he wasn't a coworker, he wasn't even a jealous rival. He was something else entirely, a silent observer, a patient predator. Someone who had chosen me for reasons I still couldn't fathom. I quit Franklin's that very week, abandoned my apartment, changed my number, filed desperate reports. I did everything humanly possible, but none of it mattered. 2 months later, on a frigid April night, a letter arrived. No return address, only my name scrawled on the front. Inside, a single sheet of paper, a photograph of me, sleeping, taken from mere inches away. On the back, in thin, shaky handwriting, a chilling message: "Brother, you shouldn't have left, I'm still around." I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. Even now, when I walk to my car at night, or hear footsteps behind me, or feel my phone buzz unexpectedly, my chest constricts, as if he's just around the next corner. Because the terrifying truth is, some bad friends don't simply vanish. Some bad friends don't forgive. Some bad friends never, ever stop watching. I never imagined the quiet back roads outside Haverbrook, Oregon, would become the stage for the greatest error of my life. But looking back, perhaps that's precisely why it unfolded. Places that feel safe are where you drop your guard. Places that feel like home are where the wrong people can burrow deepest. And in my story, that wrong person was Jace Wyatt. I met Jace when we were 13, shortly after my parents moved us from Portland to a dilapidated farmhouse just outside town. He lived a mere 15-minute drive away and was the first kid who actually spoke to me as if I belonged, not like I was some strange outsider. He was hilarious, daring, and reckless in that way that makes middle school boys feel unbreakable. We connected foolishly fast, but people like Jace don't remain careless forever. Eventually, that kind of chaos sprouts teeth. By the time I turned 32, I'd lived alone in my small countryside home for 4 years. I worked maintenance at a manufacturing plant in Haverbrook. Most nights, truth be told, were eerily quiet. My nearest neighbors were half a mile up the road. Out here, the nights grew so profoundly dark and still, you could hear the wind sighing through the pines as if they were whispering secrets. I once thought that silence was comforting, not anymore, and it all began because I gave Jace one more chance. Back in high school, Jace changed. I don't mean the typical teenage angst or shifting moods. I mean he began shattering boundaries just to see how people would react. Teachers, strangers, even me. Pranks twisted into vandalism. Vandalism escalated into breaking into people's sheds for kicks, snatching random junk he didn't need. He always offered the same dismissive line, "Bro, relax, it ain't that deep." But it was asterisk deep, and I was too foolish, too fiercely loyal, too accustomed to his chaotic energy to ever force him out of my life. After graduation, our lives diverged. I joined the plant. He ricocheted between odd jobs, surfed couches, and torched every bridge he built. Everyone who ever got close to him eventually regretted it, and I was no exception. My patience finally snapped at 26. He brazenly stole my truck keys, joyriding with some local troublemakers. The vehicle returned damaged, a cracked headlight, the cab caked in mud. His response, not an apology, but a sneering laugh. That unrepentant smirk became the final, unforgivable act. I severed all ties, erasing him from every contact. 6 years vanished, swallowed by silence. Then 2 months ago, he reappeared like a ghost from a forgotten past. A new number, a casual message. "Yo, been a minute. I'm in town. Can we talk?" I should have deleted it, banished the ghost. But familiarity, I've learned, can be a slow, insidious poison, its venom forgotten until it's too late. Foolishly, I agreed to coffee. He seemed hollowed out, older, gaunt, his eyes flitting nervously as if pursued by unseen debts. Yet his embrace was fiercely nostalgic, a desperate cling to our shared youth. "Damn man, I missed you," he murmured, but the words caught in my throat. I couldn't echo them. I should have turned and walked away then, convinced myself that a simple conversation with an old friend couldn't possibly unleash chaos. I was tragically, profoundly mistaken. The night everything fractured, I had spent a rare, quiet day confined to my home. The sky hung a dull gray, a soft drizzle kissed the windows, carrying the rich, damp perfume of pine through the air. I cleaned, watched a game, cooked some chicken, an utterly unremarkable day until darkness swallowed the horizon. Around 9, I secured the downstairs, extinguished the lights, and ascended to my bedroom. My small home, with its sloped ceilings and ranch-style roof, was a testament to an era before insulation. Every floorboard groaned, every window whispered with drafts, a rustic charm that came with its own set of rural anxieties. I settled into bed, a YouTube video murmuring softly as I scrolled through my phone. Then, a sound sliced through the quiet, faint, hushed voices drifting from outside. I paused the video, thinking it was a glitch, but no, the sound bled from beyond my window. Low, conspiratorial whispers, clearly from more than one person, at least 2, perhaps even more men. I sat upright, my senses straining. The tone was utterly wrong, not the lost, confused chatter of strangers, but the deliberate, hushed cadence of individuals desperate to remain undetected. An icy dread snaked through my chest. My property wasn't a thoroughfare, no one should be near it unless they had a specific, unsettling reason. Slowly, cautiously, I approached the window. The moment I drew near, the voices vanished. An instant, chilling silence, as if they had been anticipating my movement, their eyes fixed on my pain. A shiver, cold and sharp, crawled down my neck, rooting me to the spot. The yard was an ink-high void, save for the porch light casting a weak, shimmering glow over the worn gravel path. No, I breathed, a desperate denial, but a primal certainty screamed that something was terribly, fundamentally wrong. I retreated, backing away from the glass, forcing myself to breathe slowly, to rationalize. Just passers-by, I told myself, though the lie felt flimsy even to me. No one passed by here. I meticulously checked every window downstairs, kitchen, living room, laundry room, all dark, all empty. Yet the absence of a visible threat offered no comfort. If anything, the unseen presence intensified my fear. After 30 agonizing minutes of restless pacing, I seized my flashlight and cautiously nudged open the front door. The night air was alive with the rustle of wind, the chirping of crickets, the low hum of my porch light. But the instant my foot touched the porch, a suffocating wave of awareness washed over me. Eyes, not just one pair but multiple, fixed on me from the shadowy depths of the trees. My chest constricted, my scalp prickled with a sickening sensation. "Don't be stupid," I whispered, a desperate plea to myself. "It's just your imagination." But it wasn't. It felt like prey. I slammed the door shut, locking it with a desperate click, and just as swiftly, the oppressive sensation lifted. This inexplicable ease only deepened my dread. It made no logical sense. I poured a glass of water, climbed back upstairs, and forced my trembling body into bed. After what felt like an eternity, sleep finally claimed me, a fragile oblivion that lasted perhaps 3 or 4 hours. Then the nightmare truly began. A violent crash ripped me from sleep, the shattering roar of glass exploding terrifyingly close. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I launched from bed, propelled by pure instinct. I tore open my bedroom door. Shards of glass glittered everywhere. The small hallway window, which faced the backyard, was utterly obliterated. Amidst the glittering debris, a fist-sized rock lay ominously on the floor. "What the hell?" I whispered, my voice raw with disbelief. Then the voices returned, but this time they were screaming. At least 4, perhaps 5 men yelling commands, orders, their words a chaotic blur. As I listened, heavy, deliberate impacts shook the front door downstairs. Violent, intentional blows that rattled the entire house with each deafening thud. My stomach plummeted, a cold knot of pure terror. Downstairs, more glass exploded. I scrambled back into my room, fumbling with the lock, my hands trembling violently. Each breath ripped from my lungs. I snatched my phone, dialing 911, my voice a raw, desperate gasp. "Someone's invading my home, they're demolishing the windows." The dispatcher's calm voice cut through my terror. "Stay on the line, sir. Officers are on their way." Then I heard it. A deafening roar as the front door burst open. Heavy boots stomped into the entryway, a surge of footsteps, too many. Men shouted, their voices overlapping in a chaotic wave, and then the laughter. A chilling, taunting sound, as if this brutal invasion were merely a cruel game. My throat constricted. "Police are about 5 minutes out," the dispatcher confirmed. 5 minutes, it felt like an eternity. Suddenly, my bedroom door shook violently, 3 brutal thumps, then a voice, calm and sinister. "Hey buddy, open up, man." Another sneered, "Don't make this weird." My blood froze in my veins. I stumbled backward, frantically scanning the room. One desperate escape remained, the window. The one leading to the steep, sloped roof. It was perilous, foolhardy, a reckless gamble, but staying put felt like certain doom. I scrambled onto the roof, wrenching the window closed behind me. The shingles felt cold and sharp against my palms as I clawed my way towards the peak, praying I wouldn't slide over the edge. Inside, the men burst inward, their footsteps surging into my room. "Where'd he go?" One roared. "Closet, under the bed." Another muttered, "He's in here somewhere." "We saw his light." I held my breath, convinced they could hear my frantic heartbeat through the roof. They ransacked my room, then the upstairs hallway, cursing and slamming objects. Their frustration simmered, then boiled over. I heard a furious spit. "Dude's making this difficult." Another snapped, "We'll find him." Those words pierced my soul with a chilling clarity. This wasn't some random break-in. They weren't here for my possessions, they were here for me. I stayed paralyzed on that roof for what felt like an eternity, though it was likely only 10 minutes. Then a faint wail in the distance. Sirens. The men inside reacted instantly. Thudding boots, frantic shouts, a desperate scramble of panic. Doors flew open, slammed shut, footsteps pounded away into the night. The sirens grew louder, and with each rising shriek, the last of their echoing footsteps vanished into the dense woods behind my home. I remained on the roof until flashlights swept across my property and officers called up to me. My legs were like jelly as I carefully descended. The moment my feet touched the ground, the adrenaline drained away so abruptly I nearly collapsed. "Sir, we're going to make sure you're okay," the first officer said, his voice calm. "Just breathe," but I wasn't okay. When they asked if I had any clue why this had happened, I shook my head. Technically, in that raw moment, I didn't. But the next day, the gut-wrenching truth would strike. By morning, my house was a war zone. Glass and mud were smeared across the floors, furniture tossed, every corner violated. Nothing was stolen. Not a single thing, the sheriff pressed, his gaze piercing. "Are you absolutely certain you don't know anyone who would want to harm you?" I shook my head, still numb. Then my phone buzzed. "An unknown number, yo, you good?" My blood turned to ice. "Who is this?" I typed, my fingers stiff. 3 dots pulsed then. "Don't be like that, man." "It's me, Jace." I stared at his name until my vision swam. Another message arrived before I could even process the first. "Heard some shit went down at your place last night." "Crazy world, huh?" I was frozen, unblinking. A third. "Need to talk." I blocked the number, but that didn't stop the horrifying truth from crashing down. He knew. He texted before the news could possibly spread. Before anyone knew except me, the invaders, the police, and the chilling voices from my door. The joking, taunting tone, it felt sickeningly familiar. A wave of nausea washed over me. I recognized one of them, a faint, unsettling echo, one of the guys who had laughed. I had heard that laugh before, years ago, behind the school with Jace. That very night, before the sun dipped below the horizon, I threw essentials into a bag, called my sister in Washington, and told her I was coming for a while. Around 8:30 p.m., as I finished packing, my motion sensor light outside flared to life. Then, a knock at the door, not violent, not urgent, just a quiet, deliberate tap. 3 slow knocks, then a voice, chillingly casual. "Yo, it's just me, man." My entire body froze solid. It was him, here at my house. After everything, I didn't move, not an inch. His fist rapped again, harder now, a sharper edge to his voice. "Come on, man, don't be so strange. I just need to speak with you." I remained utterly frozen, every muscle clenched, not daring to breathe, to make the slightest whisper of a sound. An agonizing 15 seconds stretched, each beat of my heart a thunderclap. Then the doorknob turned, a soft, metallic rattle that echoed like a gunshot in the silent house. A sharp, frustrated sigh escaped him. "Are you really going to treat me this way?" he muttered, his voice seeping through the wood. Then his tone plunged, darker, colder, utterly devoid of warmth. "I thought we were brothers, man." My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat that vibrated through my very bones. He lingered for an eternity, a silent, menacing presence. Then his voice, laced with chilling promise, "Fine, whatever, this isn't over. We'll finish this another time." I heard his heavy footsteps retreat, fading into the oppressive quiet. 30 agonizing minutes crawled by before I dared to peek through the curtain of my back window. His car had vanished, but the icy claw of fear he'd left behind still gripped my chest, heavy and suffocating. The officers urged me to seek refuge elsewhere for a while. The very next morning, I drove straight to my sister's place, desperate for a haven. 2 days later, an email arrived from an old classmate I hadn't spoken to in years. The subject line was a stark, unsettling command. You need to see this. Inside, a link led to a private social media profile belonging to one of Jace's old associates. Trell, his post dated 3 days before the invasion chilled me to the bone. It was a photograph. 4 men, cloaked in camouflage, wearing gloves, masks pulled down around their necks, bottles clutched in their hands, standing deep within the woods. The caption screamed, "Squad getting ready for some late-night fun, Haverbrook's going to remember us." My stomach plummeted, 4 of them. And Jace hadn't just liked the post, he'd commented, "Let's get it." A cold, sickening certainty solidified in my gut. The police later identified 2 of the men in the photo. Both carried criminal records. Both were known to associate with Jace whenever he drifted through town. Yet they couldn't prove he was among the intruders, couldn't prove he orchestrated the attack, couldn't prove he was the one who wanted me. But deep down in the core of my being, I knew the terrifying truth. When I replayed his text message from the morning after, "Yo, you good? Crazy world, huh?" my hands would begin to tremble uncontrollably. He hadn't been checking on my well-being. He'd been confirming if they had succeeded in their twisted mission. 3 weeks have bled into one another, and I'm still at my sister's. Sleep remains a fractured, fleeting thing. Every creak, every distant rumble of a car on the street sends a jolt of raw tension through me. My house in Haverbrook now stands with boarded windows, a grim monument to what happened. The sheriff assures me of increased patrols, but it means nothing. This wasn't some random act of violence. This was deeply, terrifyingly personal. The worst torment, though, is the echo of his words through the door. "We'll finish this some other time." Every single day, I'm consumed by the agonizing question. Was it a genuine promise, a chilling bluff, or is he out there, somewhere close, watching, patiently waiting for my inevitable return home? That's the insidious truth about toxic friends. You never truly grasp the depth of their destructive power until it's far too late.